There we go. It's switched. All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Live Well this Tuesday night. Hope everybody's doing well. Got an absolutely fantastic show for you guys. Now, we got Marshall Stamps, Mr. Georgia Bassmaster, in the house somewhere, even though right now his screen is black. I don't know what happened there, but he is here. We've been talking to him, so I promise you. Great guest, guys. He's been smashing them on big glide baits. And, of course, I got Cletus in the house down there and all his wonder and glory, and then, of course, Tony right there. And so as you guys come on, hey, get your questions and comments ready for Marshall once he does get back at some point. But how you guys been doing?
Good.
Doing good. Sorry, I thought you were talking to the audience, and then I was trying to get the chat pulled.
No, right now,
Doc Holiday's out there.
I mean, I'd be doing better if it wasn't calling for snow and crap this weekend.
You think it's going to snow?
Well, I don't think it's going to snow, but just calling for it freaks everybody out. So my wife's over here praying to the snow gods.
Oh, Amanda is too. Like if she sees it's going to snow in Tennessee, she's calling out sick the next day.
Oh,
like
I'm telling you, man.
She's one of those. So all you guys in the comment section, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing well tonight. And I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic day. I guess Marshall lost his service and might have got text.
Try kicking him out and then have him come back in.
Let's see if we can do that. Okay, yeah. So no, he's just, it's a black screen. So he is here though, and we promise you we'll get him back on, him and all his beautiful locks and everything. So what's up, Superior Trailers? How you doing there, hon? Hope you're doing well. We've been thinking about you. Papa Pond Hopper, new bait I won comes Saturday. Hype to break her in this weekend. Yeah, got that. I actually got some stuff out in the mail, guys. I know it takes me a while, but everybody's there. I just listen. Hey, hope you guys, a lot of you guys jumped on the lunch break today, and we had a hell of a conversation. Tony, was you in there for the entire conversation?
What, today?
Yeah.
No, I had to go to training in Atlanta, so I missed the whole thing.
You missed the whole thing. Well, Clint was there.
I caught most of it.
There we go. Let's see. Tell him he's still got a black screen.
All right.
Yeah. Shoot him and tell him we got a black screen. Turn his thing on like that. So I'm gonna close him off until he comes back. Did you agree with that though? Did you agree that the number one bait of all time was a Cinco?
I think so. I mean, just get game changing baits and one that's still used since 03. Like, I mean, it's been around a while and keeps being used. Like, it ain't like the jitterbug, like the jitterbug. It's like, okay, yeah, that might have caught them back in the 80s and 90s, but they probably would have eaten a tennis shoe too on the top of the water,
Yeah.
like, so.
Let's get him back in here. Here we go.
All right, we're working.
Hey, you're there now.
What's going on, Marshall?
How you doing?
We're doing good. You got all the technical difficulties figured out now?
Yeah, there was no sound coming through for a while, so.
Well, there you go. I'm glad you got it fixed. Glad you could join us tonight. A lot of the people in the comment section definitely here to see you and to hear how you've been fishing lately. And I was telling them, like, you've been smashing them.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, and the show's over.
Yeah, show's over.
Yep.
That's good.
It's smashing.
Look, I tell everybody, just give me January and February, and y'all can have every other month. That's all I want to fish.
You like
It's
the
the best
cold
time of
weather.
the year. I love it.
It is a great time to be fishing. I mean, I'm telling you, if I was going to take somebody fishing, if they could, deal with the cold right now is the time.
Yep.
It is. The only thing that really sucks now is that boat ride first thing in the morning. That's kind of tough right now this time of year. But the fishing is good, and we always see it every year. The biggest sacks are caught December, January, and all that. But you're doing it a little bit different, Marshall, with kind of how you've been catching them lately. So tell everybody what you've been doing as best as you can describe it.
Yeah, I mean, just throwing big glide baits, 7-inch, 9-inch, deep diving glides, Alabama rigs. But really, the bigger the glide, the better, it seems like.
Marshall, go ahead and drop them waypoints. We already talked about we wasn't doing that. We're not even going to talk about where he's fishing, but it's how he's fishing. And so, Tony, Marshall, before you popped on, and when it was just me and Tony, and we knew you'd be hitting on the glides, and I'm like, is he letting them sink? These deep diving ones? Exactly what kind of glide are you throwing, if you can tell us that?
So, I mean, it just depends on the location. Some of the places I've been, they've been kind of tucked away shallow. But for the most part, majority of these fish I've been finding, I've been suspended between like 6 to 8 foot deep, kind of just cruising out there in the middle of the lake. And I don't have my actual one I've been using. I got my copy. But this main one I've been using is the Clash 9. But it's got a bill on it, so it'll dive down about 6 or 7 foot. And you put that thing, a couple foot over them, and they'll come up and absolutely go crazy on it. It's been amazing seeing the difference. I went out last week with my dad, and you could throw every bait in the world, and they wouldn't even look at it. And it's like the difference. I wish I could have recorded the screen on my Garmin, and just seeing the difference on how those fish reacted to a bait that size was just night and day difference.
Does that bait suspend?
Yeah, it'll suspend at whatever depth you kind of dive it down to, and just kind of sit right there, and then you give it a couple twitches or whatever, and then that bill kicks in. So it's got a good chop on it too, 90 degrees. So
yeah, it's pretty good right there.
Now, do you throw the clear one like that? Is that what?
No, this one, the one I actually use is on my boat right now. This one I ordered to paint myself.
Gotcha.
So,
What's up, Andrew Blair Fishing? He says, need to snag some. Who you say you use? I like how you put that. Who you say you use to paint blanks again?
I use a woman called the Little River Lure Lady, I believe is her Instagram name.
Yeah, that's who she is.
She does a good job. There's another guy on Instagram, Dark Corner Custom Baits. He does baits and fish mounts. He did my replica crap. He did a great job on it. But I'm going to try to dabble into it myself. I ordered a airbrush kit just so I could paint a few myself, but they do a good job.
That is the last thing in the world I need in my hands.
Hey, you never know what that turns into, though. Casey from 6 Cents won one or whatever in that college tournament, and like his partner didn't want it, and he started painting the crankbaits, and then now 6 Cents is what it is today. Like, it's stuff like that's crazy, man. You never know. So keep painting them up, see how it goes. If I painted it though, it would look like I was trying to paint up some cardboard or something.
Yeah,
ask for money at the Walmart.
We got a couple of bait painters out here in our area too, Marshall. G-Dad Outdoors and Derek Wobble. Both of those guys paint.
I've been meaning to get with you about those just because I have to ship mine out to get mine painted. And normally the way I do it is if I order a blank from whatever manufacturer, I'll just get it shipped to their house.
Yeah.
They paint it and ship it to me, the best way to do it. But I do need some local guys.
Yeah, there's G-Dad. He's Mount Zion, and Derek's over there, I think in Clem area, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Both those guys paint.
Okay.
Sorry, I think you got to adjust my chair.
We've been talking about that for.
Get down here like this.
Clint, did you notice the other night when we were on that all of a sudden I dropped about 6 inches?
No, I missed that.
I said it all of a sudden went, whoom. You guys had no clue. I just powered.
Your wiener fell off.
Yeah, listen like that. If I painted anything, it'd be just like straight white. I mean, it wouldn't be nothing fancy. Clayton Belmont says a $200 glide. Is that a $200 glide?
Well, the reason I ordered this, the one I have on my boat is a $200 glide. I found a website called Alternative Lures, and they kind of knock off the big brands. So I paid $25 for this. And they basically knock off all the big brands. I kind of feel bad for ordering it, but I was buying knockoff Hinkle shads for $7 on the website. So
yeah,
I'm going to try it out.
I don't blame you.
A regular Hinkle shad, what, months to get one, I think, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I would
spend upwards of $600, $700, $800 on one.
Yeah, and I think a lot of your painters like that, they get the blanks like that.
Well, most of those guys you see that have the kind of everyone's glides look the same, they're all ordering from either that website or a website very similar.
Yeah. Let's see right here. Have you ever, how about this one right here? Steve Sturgeon, how you doing that, buddy? Have you ever tried one without painting?
I have used some clear ones before, and that's one of my favorite ways to throw a jerkbait is clear. So it works.
All right, let's talk about what you're throwing that glide on. Let's go ahead and break it down. Rod, reel, line, the whole 9 yards, so people will know what you're throwing it.
So the one I'm throwing, the 9-inch, it's a 7-foot, 11-inch Lew's Super Duty rod with a Super Duty reel on it, and it's a 7 5-to-1 or an 8-to-1 gear ratio with, I think it's 20 or 25 pounds of drag. that it has on it, and I have 20-pound fluoro on that one, which most glide bait guys would probably say is fishing a little light, but it works for me.
Is that the K9? Because Big Bait.
That's the Clash K9. Yes.
So we were answering his question right there. What is the bite like? I mean, we were talking a little bit before the show, or even right there beginning, like they're coming up and seeing it. I mean, just what's the bite like? And then once they hit it, are you crossing their eyes? Are you just kind of laying into them? What's the best way to make sure they get hooked up?
Well, they either act one of two different ways from what I've seen. They either, as soon as they see it, go berserk, and literally I'll have to pull this glide out of the back of their throat like that. Like their mouth will be closed on it that far. So they either do that or they kind of just follow it. And when they get to following it, they're just kind of interested and they're just kind of seeing what it is. And whenever they do that, I just start cranking it really fast and normally kind of incentivize them to bite it. But it has not been – the guy I took out with me, he couldn't believe that these bass in January were being so aggressive.
Yep.
Because you see everybody post the reels like, January, you need to slow down. You need to fish slow. You need to throw finesse. These fish, they're barely moving. And it's like, everywhere I've been, these fish they're fighting like they're fighting in July.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Clint, don't you think a lot of people say that, Tony, you as well, that we hear that all the time, that conventional wisdom is slow down. But and we fish for spots a lot more than, most people, but even largemouth. I mean, they got to eat.
I feel like it's kind of the extremes too. You kind of got to play the extremes. It's like I'm either dragging something like it's February or I'm getting a reaction strike at them. Like think about fishing a deep flutter spoon or something this time of year. Like you're still getting that reaction bite and fishing pretty fast. You're not just dead sticking a spoon on the bottom type of deal. And those glide baits, you have the big drawing power and you're trying to ignite a fish that is capable of eating this bait. And like, in order to make them ignite, you have to have some type of action. Because if they get too good of a look at it, I mean, they're smart. They're big, smart, fat bass. It's a lot of fun. That Clash 9 is such a great reaction bait. And I mean, you can do so much with it. Like how versatile it is. You take the lip out of it, you put it in the 3 different modes. Like you can make a fish react a bunch of different ways. And so like for the money for a glide like that, you definitely get your money's worth because you can fish it so many different ways. I remember Oliver Nye showed me that bait back in 2021. And I was like, what is that thing? And he's like, basically just a big crankbait. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then he goes around the corner and starts chunking it down, laydowns and stuff like a square bill. And then it's like 4-pounder. I was like, dang, like these 4-pounders are eating that thing. That's crazy. And then he catches like a 14-incher and you're like, oh my God, like it's crazy what you can draw. And then you can catch some giants on it too, making them react. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Clayton Belmont says no need to slow down. And then Andrew Blair says all winter long he's been burning baits, and that's the only way they're eating there. Never slow.
It's something. Forward facing sonar probably has showed a lot of us that the bass indeed don't slow down like we were told for decades and decades. I mean, that's one thing I was telling somebody today. I fished with Dowie on Sunday in that wind, and they were staying in one spot and they were treating the area like it was almost like it was a toilet bowl. They just kept making circles, and then you just waited for them to come back around and throw at them.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you're right about the forward facing part as far as that.
It's told us a lot.
That's, again, microscope under the water, and it just absolutely opened up an entire world. John G, let me pull that back up. Yeah, everyone I've caught lately fight and flip like it's the middle of summer, for sure. And now Anthony Hampton's got a question for you there, Marshall. What is your favorite water temp for the glides? And again, you just kind of said give you 2 months out of the year, so I got an idea.
I mean, it seems to be working better around that 50-degree water temperature range. So, I mean, it still works 45, but 50 to 55 degrees is really, really the best.
Yeah. Do you think they just see a big bait coming through like that, and they're like, one big bait as opposed to trying to chase down a bunch of small ones, one big, crucial meal that I need, I don't have to work, and that's why you're getting bit on the glide?
That's what I believe it is. Like, that's what I wish I could have recorded my Echo Map screen, because I was out the other day. I saw one on the scope. I already had a chatterbait. I was kind of flipping to the bank. I threw the chatterbait over there, put it over its head 3 times. It didn't even turn. Like it was cruising down the bank, didn't even pay any attention about it. I put that 9-inch and the reaction difference on that bass was night and day.
Mhm.
Like it was like I had never seen anything like that before. So they're biting.
So
you
you
just
think
may not have the right thing.
right? You think it was the size though compared to a chatterbait?
I think it is, just because like you guys on the chat, if you've used glide baits, just the drawing power of even a 7-inch glide is just a lot different. Like the amount of big fish you get to commit, or at least follow your bait.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. War Eagle the best. What's up, buddy? Glad you could join us tonight. Do you ever catch spotted bass on a DRT K9?
Yes, and the last bag that I caught that I haven't shared anything about, my smallest largemouth was a 5.8, and I'm sitting here filling up my bag, and then I'm trying to cull out a 2.7 spot that I caught on the K9. So they bite it, and spots are super aggressive. Anyway, like
Yeah.
I've caught them on baits way bigger than what they could even. They would
Oh, yeah.
choke to death. You know, like their
Oh,
eyes are bigger than their mouth.
They're like the Chihuahua that chases the pickup truck down the
Yeah.
road. Like, what the hell you gonna do with it when you get it?
Especially when you can get into a school of spots where there's like 10,
Yep.
and you get one to react. It's like they're all trying to get that bait. You know.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
You can
Clint-
catch smallmouth on it too. I've caught
Yeah.
some 4.5, 5 pound smallmouth on the K9, and it's crazy how they just smash it. They hit it so hard. It's a lot of fun.
So with that being said, largemouth spots, smallmouth. Do you have to work it a little bit different for each species, or pretty much you just do the same thing? They're going to hit it regardless.
I don't change it up at all.
Okay.
I feel like if anything, spots are more aggressive, but that's my opinion.
Well, I would say, Clint, you're our resident, spotted bass expert. I would Tony's got them too down there in Wadowee. But you deep water, Lake Lanier and all that. How much, does the glide come in, especially one like Keystone, it gets down there? We don't really talk about it on Lake Lanier a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the K9, I love throwing it, especially when they're heavy on a crankbait, like in those crankbait hours, like that low light type of stuff. I've thrown it in same places you'd throw a rock crawler or a 6XD or whatever, just trying to get that biggest fish out of the school that might be up there shallow. And I've had success. A lot of that has been like that summertime window, though, of cranking, and not quite the wintertime. So, like, you're probably on something completely different than I've been on Lanier, but like, especially the summertime, when that summertime, like night, like dusky cranking bite starts to go up. Like in nighttime tournaments, I always have a K9 tied
Really?
on for that first hour.
Okay. Now, Tony, I know you just kind of got into the big swim bait kind of
Last
recently.
year. Yep. Last year.
So, you hear him saying this, Clint's talking about doing that. What is your kind of, since you're the newbie, I would say, with the big swim bait. So kind of give me your feel on what he's throwing, what he's doing, and the fish he's catching.
I will say this after doing it last year and seeing the potential. So I started out throwing it at Wadowee through the Chad chat at Wadowee, and I watched a 12-inch spot, a couple of them come off the bank and follow it. I'm like, okay, so this thing, it draws fish, no matter what. I took it out to one of my other lakes, and I'm a firm believer. I don't care. You probably could throw a 12-inch and probably they just bite it. And Stephen, I made a comment a minute ago about with a follow-up bait. I found for me that if I'm getting a follower and he doesn't bite that big glide bait, I'm keeping the big glide bait in my hand. Because if I'm guilty, if I pick something else up like a shaky head and catch that fish, I'm like, oh, they're biting a shaky head, and I won't pick the glide back up, and I miss a bigger fish or whatever. So the days that I took some advice from Big Bait John, from other guys, I watched Clint do it. That's the reason I started throwing them, was I watched him boat flip that, what was it, 8-9 pounder or whatever it was you boat flip. And I just said, if I'm going to throw it, I'm going to throw it the whole day. So that they bite it. I mean, and you can, you can turn a lot of fish with it. It's almost amazing to watch, because for somebody that never threw one before to go, okay, they'll absolutely destroy this thing.
Okay. All right. How about this one there, Marshall? Do you base the size of the glide according to the water temp, or you just throw giant ones all the time?
I mean, for the most part, most of the time I'm throwing a 7-inch glide. That seems more like a universal size, works most places. I more base my glide bait off the type of bait fish that the reservoir I'm fishing has. So like Tony knows, we have a lake in our area that has American hickory shad, and I've seen the shad washed up on the bank 14 inches long.
Yep.
And those bass are eating those 14-inch shad. So it's like everybody says match the hatch. Well, it's like you got 14-inch bait fish that these fish are eating, and they're used to eating those 10, 12-inch long shad. And everybody's throwing a little 3-inch chatterbait, you know? So it's like you're not reaching the full potential of the reservoir you have.
Yeah.
But also, I have another reservoir that only has 3 or 4-inch thread fin, and the bigger glide baits don't seem to work as good out there. And it's almost like they're just so accustomed to eating the 3 or 4-inch shad. So I would not base it around water temp. I would base it around the type of bait fish your fishery has.
That's very smart. But now, if you got to that lake that had the smaller thread fin and you wanted to throw a type of glide, give us a couple possibilities, a couple of examples of baits that you might use on that lake.
Well, the Throwback just come out with this new 5-inch mini, and this one right here is deadly. I probably throw like a 6 1/4-inch eco that I have right here, but probably stick to the smaller stuff and something that's like really choppy and has a lot of action to it.
Okay, all right. So Tony, going into this year now and going into this year, since again you're just getting into this, what have you learned that you might change, or something you might want to ask Marshall, like some changes, some corrections that you can make to up your game a little bit?
It's one of those things that, even when we went to, what was it, Blue Ridge, I remember Farmer saying, well, I know what Tony's throwing because I had the glide bait on the deck, even at Blue Ridge.
You did have it on the deck.
It rides everywhere with me. So I'm gonna throw it no matter what. I mean, I don't know. I think it's still so new learning it wise that I'm still just deciding on, figuring out where to throw it at, as far as like, okay, how do I go to that lake and go, I need to throw it now? You know what I'm saying? Because like obviously I'm gonna throw it, but that's one of the biggest things is like, okay, what's that? Is there a cut? I guess that's a good question. Is there a cutoff time? Like, all right, right now, there's just no sense in throwing this bait, because the area lakes that I fished, I didn't see that this year. I mean, they bid it all year long. So is there a time like, you know what, just don't even put it on the boat kind of thing? Do you have any of that time of the year that you'd say, yep, there's not glide bait season right now, we're not going to throw it?
No.
that's kind of what I figured.
Listen, Tony, I was watching his facial expression while you asked that question, and I knew he wanted to say no like halfway through your question and all that.
Well, I mean, you almost feel dumb because, I mean, again, my boat doesn't. I've got an old Ranger, so it only holds a 7-foot rod. Well, I've got a 7'9" KGB rod. It has to ride on the deck, and I'm like, well, dang, if I don't take it, it's not like I can store it away, so it's got to ride on the boat. Right. So every lake I go to, it sits there like a ornament piece until and I'm going, well, dang, do I throw it? I can't wait to throw it at Wedowee this spring and summer when I'm really getting into that. It's going to be on.
I'll tell you what really changed my mind. See, I haven't always been a big glide bait guy. Back in the day, 10 years ago, I thought a 5-inch paddle tail was throwing a big bait. And what really changed my mind, I was out on a lake pretty close to Tony and I. And when you pull up a bass from 25, 30 foot, they kind of get the air pocket in them messed up or whatever. I caught it was about a 13-inch bass, maybe a 14-inch bass. I pulled it up from 30 foot. I threw it back in, and it was kind of sitting on top of the water, barely flopping. And this was about 6, maybe 7 years ago. I saw probably one of the biggest bass of my life come up and eat that 13 or 14-inch bass dead in front of my boat.
Wow.
And at that moment, I was like, these bass will hit something big.
Light bulb moment come on right there.
It was like, I need to throw something a little bit bigger because I'm not catching that one. I'm catching the 13-incher,
Well, I mean, I've said it just because I've heard it. There's 2 types of bass in every lake. There's 12-inch bass and bass that eat 12-inch bass. And those bass are the ones that you want. Clint, kind of same thing, I was talking about with Tony. How much will a glide come into your arsenal going into the spring and the rest of the year?
It's almost always on my deck. I'll at least have 1 or 2 or have them pretty close by, especially in the wintertime. I like throwing. So I definitely like having a soft bait and having a hard bait. So having like my 10-inch hog hunter magnums or whatever, if I'm on a fishery that has trout, or even if it doesn't, because like even some of our spotted bass fisheries like Lanier has like some big gizzards in it, or it has some big perch and things like that too. So like it's kind of just a profile thing. But I'll almost always have like a clutch boss or or a K9 is a good one to have on the deck. I mean, there's so many different options of glides, but I would say 90% of the time, especially in the wintertime, I've got 1 or 2 on the deck. And it's one of those rods I probably make 20 casts a day with, but they're the right ones. And sometimes like it shows me the fish, and sometimes it doesn't. It just kind of depends on, it's a very situational, but once you start to learn that there's more situations than just the right laydown or the right marina slip or something like that, when you realize you can see fish grouped up a certain way, floating out there a certain way, and can make them react with a choppy style glide like a Boss or a Darter or something like that, then that's when it is the right thing to pick up at the right time. Or if you're like schooling fish and you're trying to get the biggest one out of the school, that's a good way to get the drawing power there. Like that's why I always try to keep something accessible there for that drawing power to catch that biggest fish out of the school.
Marshall, I meant to do this at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to do it now, and I'll do it again before I forget. If anybody wants to follow you on your socials, go ahead and shout out your socials.
Yeah, it's just Georgia Bassmaster on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everything.
Yeah, I knew it was really simple, but I want to make sure that if somebody doesn't follow you, you need to go follow this cat. It's worth your time. Let's just put it that way. It's worth your time. Let's see. John G wants to know, what about shoal bass? Do they like the big glides in the winter too?
Yes.
I think that's a loaded question. I believe.
You asked me about spotted bass, smallmouth, and largemouth.
Yeah.
And the only thing you didn't ask was shoal bass.
That's
and
right.
In my opinion, they have the biggest, like their eyes are bigger than their mouth out of any fish I fish for. Because like a shoal bass doesn't have a very big mouth anyways. A 5-pound shoal bass, or even one pushing 6, is just a giant. And for a 5-pounder to bite a 7 or 8 inch glide, they'll choose that any day of the week over a trick worm or anything else someone else is throwing. So especially now, like in February and March, when I start hitting these rivers a little bit harder, probably the only thing I'll even throw is going to be a glide.
Really?
Wow.
Man, I guess that's why I'm not catching any big bass. I'm just not throwing the right stuff.
Well, and do you think maybe the glide bait, the reason, I know it's gotten more popular obviously over the last few years, but do you think maybe it's such a niche is the right word, but people are scared to throw it, and that's why the bass still hit it like they do, because people go, I'll throw the glide. They go throw it 5 times. They're like, I'm done with it. And so bass aren't seeing it.
They aren't seeing it. And then especially, like I tell anybody, if you want to get into glide bait fishing and you've got some 4-acre pond that and they've never seen a glide, you'll see miracles happen. Because if you can go to a place that people aren't throwing these size baits and they've never seen anything like this, you're going to get a lot of bites.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree.
I do. Absolutely. What color K9? And I think that answer, I would say, is based upon what you said earlier, your bait fish, whatever forage you got.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a good question. And then while you're doing that, I've got to get up and go get some over here. I want to show everybody. What impact does water clarity have on the decision on whether or not to throw it? Or does it even matter?
To me, it does. I find that glides work. They're really optimal in like clear to slightly stained water. You can throw them in super muddy. I don't think they're as effective. I feel like if you got really muddy water, that's when you need something that's got a little bit more, like the K9, for example, that has the bill on it. It's got a lot more vibration. It's going to put some more, put out some more vibrations in the water for those lateral lines for the bass to even be able to find it. That goes for any bait. So I feel like it's most optimal in clear type water. Like one of the best examples, I fished a lake that you could see like 15 foot, and seeing the coolest thing ever is seeing a bass come up from 15 foot to just hammer a glide, and they'll do it.
That's awesome.
I got you. Okay. So, John G, you should have got an email with the tracking number. Your reel is on the way. Since we're talking about swim baits and glide baits, I know this might be not one that's going to come into play, but this is the K-Rig from Spro. If you are a channel member, you are a supporting channel member at the end of January when we have our drawing. This will be the prize of the month for January right here. So you have a chance to win one of those. And we're talking about big baits and everything. And I thought, you know what? Let me go ahead and get it out and pull out and show everybody. Have you messed with one of these yet?
No, I haven't been lucky enough to get my hands on one.
Oh, really? I'd have gave you this, and if you'd asked me, but I'm gonna give it to one of our members.
The one I ordered still hadn't. No, I didn't order the cat. I ordered the little guy. That's the one I ordered. I ordered the little
guy. Yeah, they were out of the little guy right there. Yep. So I promise you, I'm not going to throw it. I'll keep it in the box. But if you pay the $4.99 a month, you get one entry in the draw, and if you are a $9.99 a month member, you get two. We'll do that the very end of January, and that is the prize for this month. So pretty cool. I hope you got a rod to throw it on, because it's not, guys. It's not a. I don't know how many ounces is it. Clint, do you know off the top of your head?
It's 7.
7, yeah.
And going with that, Eric asked a question: what size budget best bang for your buck glide rod? The Daiwa Kage rod or the Daiwa DX SB? They're both super cheap, and those are my beginning swim bait rods. Throwing Huddleston 8-inch. Like anything up, like all your super heavy stuff. Like if you need a good budget rod for $100, $100 to $200, depending on the Daiwa line, the DX SB and the Daiwa Kage swim bait rod. I think it's like an 8-footer. It's like a broomstick, but I mean, it's a great rod for those super heavy glides. Now, if you're getting more advanced in actually like throwing these baits and want to throw them properly with the right taper, because what will happen with a broomstick rod, you can lose a lot of fish on a treble hook bait like that if you're not playing them properly or fighting them. I mean, when you hook up, you want to wind them into the boat and crank them in. But if you end up having some sling it and things like that, the right rod does make a difference eventually. But I would just get you a cheaper glide bait rod to get started, I feel like.
I think didn't you say Chad Shad's what you throw, Tony?
I've got a few of them, yes.
I think I got one of those over there too. We might do the question of the night tonight and give one of those away.
Yeah, I mainly throw the one Big Bait John gave me, the Buka, the actual resin bait that he gave me. That's the one I've caught that's the one I've landed all of my glide bait fish on.
Okay.
And go at what Clint said, I bought the Dobbins 7.9 swim bait rod when I first started, and me and Big Bait John went out, and then I ordered the KGB rod, and it completely changed my hookup and land ratio just by changing that. Even though they both said swim bait, it just the tip was a lot more flexible than that Dobbins was.
On the KGB?
Yes.
Yeah, I gave mine to Big Bait John too.
Yeah.
I gave my KGB rod because he's a good dude. And
he was fit to be tied. I see, I'm getting me a KGB rod. He goes, man, those things are nice. And then you gave him that one. That was pretty cool.
It was like kid on Christmas morning. I said, here, you can have it. He was like, really? I'm like, yeah, dude, because hell, I ain't going to throw it. And now I'm like, shit, I shouldn't have given it to him because everybody's catching big bass.
But, going out there with somebody like John to Hickory Log and seeing what equipment he was using, because that's all he throws, right? And seeing the difference, just like I said, I was never, I've never been one of those guys like, you got to have this rod for this. Until this last year, I've thrown couple of different techniques. And I was like, yep, I see where it's at now. So
the right rod makes a difference too. And like we were running into with Alpha Angler was like, we have this wide glide that's great for glides up to like 6 ounces, but for the little bit heavier stuff, like the Clutch Boss, we were like, okay, we need something a little bit bigger. And we're not supposed to talk about it, but we have a new one coming out like next week. But the first day of filming with the prototype, I was filming with Brandon Polinick and Josh Plades back in October in Idaho. They caught 75 fish, largemouth and smallmouth, on the Clutch Boss in literally about 4 hours. We had 25 pounds in the first 5 minutes. It was stupid, absolutely dumb. But Brandon boat flipped a 10-pounder on it at Fork. Like, it's a stout, good glide bait rod, but still, like, the hookup ratio is insane. Hook to land ratio is insane. So keep an eye out with Alpha Angler on that new. I can't say the name of it yet. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. I'm just fired up about it. I'm fired up.
I got it. All right, so listen. All right, Marshall, I got a question. All right, so I got 2 of these Chad 180s right here. This one is bone, and this one is ghost trout. Now, one of these I'm going to keep for myself, all right? Which one should I keep? I'll give away the other one, but which one should I keep for me?
Look, I think bone's probably one of the best colors out there, but I would keep that, in my opinion.
Okay, now listen, you know more about it than I do, so sorry guys, you don't get the bone. But in a little while, we'll do a question of the night, and I'll send the winner this ghost trout Chad Shad from Spro. So we'll have a little fun with some Spro products tonight. Let's see. Steven Sturgeon had another question right here. Thoughts on a Contender Junior?
Not familiar with
Is that the Guggen like little thing?
That's what my wife calls me at night.
Guggen
I
little
want to
thing.
say
Contender?
I want to say I have
Do
one.
it, Danny. Let's see. I don't know nothing about a Contender.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it.
I think that's.
I think it's the
four
Guggen bait.
a 4.5
like.
inch Guggen bait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you had to throw a 4.5 inch bait, do you think it'd be worth your time?
I don't think so. I think you really need to get above that 6 to 7 inch range to actually draw those fish in my opinion.
Okay, hey, listen, you're the expert tonight, big dog. So, Tyler says best on the cheap side glide baits of the Jackal Gantrel lineup. Great for the brim eaters as well.
Yeah,
and I can see that. War Eagle the best. He always has very good questions. What is your favorite mod for the DRT? Which tail and lip do you like to use?
I'm not really sure. I like the split tail that you put it on because you got the one that you can put horizontal. I like the split tail like this, and then I'm not really sure which bill I use, but I don't know.
I don't know. He just the one he likes right there.
Just mess around with it.
Let's see. How about this one? Jason Fletcher. How much does your retrieve vary, and what changes do you make throwing a glide bait in the winter months, say as opposed to in the summer?
Well, in the wintertime, I'll incorporate more longer pauses. So like I may just burn it for 5 or 6 seconds, and then I may just let it sit there for 3 to 4 seconds. And I do a little bit more of that in the wintertime, which that works in the summertime as well. But for the most part, I don't really feel like there's too big a change, in my opinion, or at least how I'm fishing it.
I was going to say, I treat, we've talked about the jerk bait, slowing the jerk bait down in the wintertime and stuff. And I've had really good luck, popping it fast in the wintertime. I do the same thing with the glide bait. If I'm going to fish it, I'm not going crazy with it, but I'm still probably the same retrieve. I'm not changing up a whole lot.
Yep. Yeah, I got that. George, no, it wasn't Guido. It was his son, Dion Hibden, that passed away. And we did have him on the show probably about 2 years ago, year and a half, maybe something like that. Ken Pruitt was on with me that night. Really enjoyed that conversation. He's a very good storyteller. And he is, I think they're still the only father-son duo, Clint, to win a Bassmaster Classic.
I believe so.
I believe they're the only ones to ever do that. So he won it in 97. So yeah, I really hate to hear that news for sure. Let's see. How about this? Eric, I'm late, but what is the best bang for your buck glide bait rod for up to 9 ounce baits? Is that the one you
That
did?
was the one I read earlier.
I'm running behind. Let's see. Marshall, what's your biggest bag on a glide bait? Mullet angler, the myth, the man, the legend out there. He probably knows the answer to this, don't he?
Well, my biggest bag on strictly glides only was 28 pounds. But,
no, that'll do.
Just 28 pounds. Just 28.
I can't count the ones where, you catch 3 on a glide and 2 on an A-rig, so.
I get it. But just 28 pounds. No big deal. Yep. I like that. What is your favorite line for the 7-inch plus glides? Did you say, I know you mentioned it already, but let's just go about that again.
I use the Strike King Contra Fluoro, either 17 pound or 20 pound. And that's just the brand I use just because I'm sponsored by Strike King. So I get all the line for free. So I can't say I've tried any other ones. I've tried braid on my glides, and I'm not a big fan of throwing glides on braid. Just me personally, I seem like I lose a lot of fish just because the line's too tight. So like the second they get an inch of getting loose, they'll shake the hook. So I like the fluoro a little bit better just to have just a little bit of stretch and keep a little tension on there. But that's what I use.
Is that the common way to do it? Again, I'm not a glide bait angler. Going braid, or do more guys go just straight fluoro?
Straight fluoro, for sure.
Straight fluoro?
So I posted a question on YouTube a while back when I first bought that. What was it that I bought up at the shop, Danny? The one that's the Buka, but it's the one that John Allred throws a lot. That I can't think of
Oh, is that the burrito?
Yeah, no, it's not the burrito. It's the hard swim bait. It's just I'll
That's
think
just
anyway.
the Buka shad, probably.
Yeah, it's got the diving version, and it's got anyway. So it's the 4-hole drive one basically. So I put a question out there, and you would the answer to that question is so across the board. I did it on purpose. It's anywhere from 20, or I've had 15-pound up to 80-pound braid. Everybody's got their own. So I went with 20-pound fluoro, XPS fluoro. Honestly, it's made by Seagar anyway, the Excel fluoro, and that's what I went with. I'm doing the same thing, 20-pound. But yeah, it's everybody's got their own opinion. But I like the Gibbon fluoro myself.
That's what Big Bait John said. The 4x4.
Yeah, 4x4.
I guess that might be what it's called.
That's probably what it's called.
It's called 4x4. So Marshall, you kind of mentioned like with your glides, you like to go a little lighter. Do you do that with all the things that you like to throw, no matter what? I mean, from a worm, because I'm one of those that will go. I'm always on the light side when it comes to my line. I just do not like throwing heavy. It feels like throwing rope to me. So I always downsize my line a little bit and just try to play them. Do you do that with all your baits? Because you kind of mentioned it with your glide.
Well, I mean, I think the smallest line I throw is probably 12-pound fluorocarbon. Every now and then, if I'm just running low, I may throw 10, but I'm not one of the guys that ever throws 4 or 6, But most of the time, especially when I'm worm fishing, I'm throwing braid to fluoro.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you get better feel and a longer cast. So when you're running 20-pound braid to a 12-pound fluoro leader, I feel like I can chunk that thing out there and play the fish pretty good,
Yeah. Now, earlier when you were talking about, you were describing these fish that you've been catching, kind of being out there suspended. Are they relating to any type of cover at all? And had you not seen them out there, is there a type of cover that you would target first?
There's been some like random stumps out there in the middle of the lake. And like Tony was talking about, seeing these fish on live scope, I have followed them. They'll do like a 40-foot radius circle around the same spot for like 20, 30 minutes, And that's kind of what these bass are out there doing. They're kind of like, they find a zone and they're either like doing a little circle or they're kind of just cruising right off the end of the drop off on the edges of the bank, like parallel with the bank, just cruising down there looking for shad. And like the biggest thing I've seen, using electronics where I know I'm about to see a bass is like this one lake I have, you'll see just shad everywhere from the top of your screen to the bottom of the screen, just shad taking up the whole screen. And all of a sudden, when you get into a zone and you start seeing the shad ball up, they're getting in that defensive mode. There's a bass somewhere nearby.
Yep.
But for the most part, they've been out in the middle, just cruising on flats, random stump, But
I'm glad you said that, because I remember being on Rocky Mountain PFA 4 or 5 years ago fishing a tournament, and just even on 2D, I assume gizzard shads in 20, 25 foot of water was from the bottom all the way up. And so not knowing what I was doing back then, I'm like, there's got to be fish around. But I like what you said, that if you see them like that and they're comfortable, odds are probably they're just, free willy right there the whole time. And then, but if they ball up, that's an indicator to you that something's near.
Well, it's like, go to Bass Pro Shop. There'll be a 9-pound bass sitting beside a bluegill or a crappie in the tank, and they're just chilling, And all of a sudden, when those bass start getting in that feeding mode and their gills are flaring, all the bait fish will just go to the other side of the tank, So it's like, if you see a bunch of shad and they're not scared of nothing, and you see bluegill everywhere, like maybe find a spot where you see some fish that are acting scared,
I like that. Clint, we've not heard anybody kind of say that. Lately near they're balled up anyway. The heron's always moving the thread, so we always see balls like that. But how deep is the Lake Marshall do you fish on average?
I have about 3 or 4 different ones, but in my opinion, I really like these lakes that are less than 25 foot deep for the most part. Like the best one I have, it's 19 foot at the deepest, and majority of the lake is 12 to 15 foot. And I just feel like for largemouth, that's better in my opinion. Like Gunnersville is not a deep lake. Like I feel like these shallower lakes kind of hold better largemouth in my opinion, because spotted bass will go 80 foot deep, but a largemouth won't, So these lakes that are 200 foot deep are really not getting used by the largemouth.
Yeah, that makes sense. Clint, what's the deepest largemouth you've ever caught? And Tony, you can
95.
answer that too. How deep?
95 on the bottom
95?
in the timber.
I would never believe it.
Minoran. Yeah.
But that's not common.
No, but I've caught spots down that deep too. But I mean, I've probably only caught like 10 largemouth deeper than 80. So,
But now, would you
it's
say
not
those,
very common to see them down that deep, but like they're either down there or they're like, it depends. But like some of those are mountain lakes too. I mean, those mountain lakes can be a little different.
That's what I was getting to ask. Do you think that has to do with the type of lake that you're fishing?
100%. All of them have been on herring fisheries. None of them have been on your traditional shallow fisheries like Gunnersville, Chickamauga. I've not caught them out there. When I lived in Texas for 2 years, like I never caught a largemouth deeper than 25 foot.
Yeah, I don't think I ever have. Tony, what about you? What's the deepest one?
The deepest one I know of, excuse me, my first trip to Lanier was on a striper trip. We were right outside one of the marinas, and I want to say we were at 55 foot, and I caught a 5-pounder.
Right.
I think it was that deep. It was pretty good ways down because I was shocked when we brought it up.
But again, on a herring fishery, deep, clear Highland Reservoir kind of thing like that. I think when the lakes,
I feel like most of them stay shallow, especially once they get to a certain size. I feel like you can catch them like up to like 3 or 4 pounds a lot deeper than like those big ones though. I don't know. I don't think they go that deep. I think they stay shallow. You're right.
I would think that, I grew up, I didn't fish big lakes growing up. It was always farm ponds and everything. So it almost was kind of like Florida. 12 foot was deep on a lot of everybody's ponds they had out in their cow pastures and stuff like that. But they always were just largemouth, just tanks were always in there too. So I get what you're saying. How about this one? Do you have to deal with toothy critters like pike or muskie? Not too much in Georgia. Does a 20-pound fluoro hold up, or do you ever have to use a steel leader? Now, Steven is from Illinois, I believe. So they probably have those up there. You ever have to deal with anything? Maybe what about stripers coming up and getting your glides?
Yeah, river fishing around Atlanta and the Hooch, the stripes. That's probably one of those scenarios where I'm going to take off the 20-pound fluoro and either put on the 60 to 80-pound braid or really beef up my fluoro. But I mean, if I'm bass fishing, I'm not doing that. But the stripes, they'll get you.
What's the biggest stripe you ever caught on a glide bait?
I think I caught not a very big one, like 21 pounds. Or maybe, no, it was 19. It's 19.
Would you catch that in the river?
I did. I caught it on the Chattahoochee River.
I mean, you throw some current in there, it probably felt like it was 45 pounds, though, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Like that. Okay, how about this? What's the biggest river bass you've ever caught? Largemouth or spot or both compared to lake?
I think the biggest largemouth I've ever caught in the river was almost 7, which in my opinion is a big river largemouth. The shoal bass was 5.5 pounds. That's a pretty good size shoaly. But like my biggest largemouth in a lake was 10.9. So you're getting a lot bigger in the lakes.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, now compare your 10.9 largemouth in a lake to a 5-pound shoal bass in the river.
Man, that 5.5 pound shoal bass was pulling drag swimming upstream. So I feel like the shoal bass pound for pound fight harder. Like I relate it to guys that catch smallmouth up north. I'm like, shoal bass and smallmouth are pretty similar, except smallmouth dig a lot more and shoal bass like to jump like a largemouth. So you kind of get the best of both worlds.
I've never caught a shoal bass. We've got to fix that in 26. You haven't either, Tony?
No, I'm not.
Well, hell, we got a guy right
I've been in Marshall's invited me. I got to get a kayak one day.
Well, I mean, we could go to the lower Flint on those deeper sections in a boat.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you need a kayak.
Clint, you ever caught one?
I've caught a few, but not a whole lot.
You ever caught a shoal bass of any size or significance?
Nothing over 3 pounds.
Well, I mean, I think I would absolutely flip with a 5-pound shoal bass.
A 3-pounder is a good.
It's a good.
I mean, if you haven't been that much, that's a pretty good shoal bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do that. That needs to be on the bucket list for 26. We need to mark that off, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Clint, if you're looking for a kicker largemouth, what is the deepest you will target when looking for a big fish? So this is a question to you because you said you caught one deep. And then I want you to answer that, Tony and Marshall, all of you guys answer that because y'all fish kind of, I know you two fish in similar areas, but if you're fishing a tournament, end of the day, you got to get a kicker largemouth and you're throwing a glide where you fish, what's the deepest you'll target?
I mean, that's kind of tough because it's like when I'm throwing a glide, I'm targeting fish that are up higher. But I mean, if I'm on a trout fishery on the bottom, I'll fish for big kicker largemouth in 30 foot or less, I would say. So still not super deep. That's probably the deepest I'll fish for them, dragging a hog hunter on the bottom or a Huddleston or something like that in the cold water temps, but not going super deep because I feel like those big kickers, they're 20 foot or less for the most part.
Yeah. All right, Tony, how about you?
I was going to say as much as I like to fish with it's deep, clear, whatever. My brain still won't get around the fact that I can fish a glide bait that deep. So I'm going to go more shallow. I mean, 20, like you said, 20, 25 foot or less.
Okay. All right. Sure. Marshall.
I agree. I'm probably going to be in between. Preferably, you want to catch them 3 to 5 foot.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, the deepest I like to go is like 12 or 15.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let's say you don't have any electronics at all. No forward-facing sonar or nothing. You're on a lake. You're throwing a big glide. What's the first kind of piece of structure, or could it be a point or whatever, where you're going to start? What would be the very first place you'd go on a brand new lake that you know nothing about?
I like to find those deeper drop-off ledges, and then instead of getting my boat and throwing to the bank, I like to get parallel with the bank and get a long cast down the side. So I may get one cast 3 foot off the bank, one cast 6 or 7 foot, and then I'm going to work that thing all the way down the side of the bank because I feel like those bass are going to come up. And I feel like you have more chances of getting those fish working parallel than you do throwing perpendicular, in my opinion.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I'll usually start a pond and just go all the way around. I mean, if it's a pond or a good sized lake.
Okay. All right, let's do this. Let's go ahead and give away this ghost trout KGB, K-Shad, whatever, 180 right here. So here's the question. You guys have had to pay attention to social media here lately, and you got to have paid attention maybe today on the lunch break. So my son made me a grandfather this weekend, had a baby boy, Maddox William Pruitt. How much did he weigh, and how long was he? How much did he weigh? And you got to be exact. And how long was he?
A dang kicker, son.
He took big fish honors, and just about every damn tournament that was out there. I just want to see if you guys paid attention. A lot of you guys like, all right, congratulations. Let's see if you actually paid attention to the details. And if you did, you're the first one to get them both answers: weight and length. Okay, weight and length. Well, Darian, you ain't even close, dude.
7.4 inches or pounds, or come on, be specific out there. Let's get
all I gotta say is, look, I get down on my knees, and most of the time I'm asking the good Lord for forgiveness. But there is one thing that will always be true: is I am so glad He made me a man, because I don't know how women can do what they do. You know what I'm saying? You got kids.
Praise God.
Yeah, praise God like that. Whatever. It's like, I tell you what, how many kids you got, Marshall?
3 boys.
Dang, son, you're busy.
You guys are close, but you're not quite. You got 3 boys?
Yep.
Man, you need a girl. You guys are close. Y'all were close, but nobody's got it yet. What age? How old are your kids?
10, 7, and 5.
Woo-wee. That keep you busy. They like to fish?
They do. They're actually, my 10-year-old's pretty dang good.
Is he really?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does he like throwing on the glide? Does he like throwing glides and stuff?
No,
or does he got his own?
No, I haven't even got them started on none of that. They're still on the spinner baits and the smaller lures or a wacky worm or something.
Good.
You got to get them hooked on it. You got to get them hooked first.
Yeah.
Darian Moss, you're very close with one of your answers.
Yes, he is.
You're very close with one of your answers. So I'm trying to. You guys are all really close, but you got to be exact on the length. I will just go ahead and say every one of you are right at 9.3 on the pounds. What you got to do is put 9.3 in the proper length. And again, we got to do that. I said it at lunch break today.
9.3 and 9 pounds 3 ounces. There's two different weights.
Well, 9.3. 9.3 is what 9.3.
Okay.
I don't get this. I don't know. Listen, it's 9.3, whatever that was.
Okay.
But let's just go the inches. All right. So I'm giving you the first one, 9.3 pounds, and then the inches. But you guys are like several of you have been close. One of you was like Price is Right, just above it, and then some were just below it. Like you're really close, Coleman. Some of you guys got thinking Okay, so listen, I see the right answer. It is floating out there, but it's only got one. Okay. John G. I think John G. Where did they go?
Well, he's yeah.
It's 20. Huh?
There's one right there that's dead on in the answer.
Where's it at?
Believe. Well, if I tell you, it's going to tell everybody what it is. But
no. He only has that one answer right there.
No, he's got two in there. Gosh, it's going so dang fast. Clayton Belmont had an answer in there. You need to look at his.
Pick the winner, Tony.
Clayton Belmont had 9.3, 21.75.
That is correct.
John G had 9.03 and 21.75.
Oh, so close. Well, John, I put a reel in the mail for you. So, hey, you got a reel coming. So we'll go with Clayton Belmont. Okay. There you go. Yeah. So 9.3 pounds, 21.75 on the relative scale. I think he is healthy, came from a good lake. So it must have been some good forage and all that. So, but I appreciate everybody's well wishes and all that. And I look forward to putting a rod in his hand because his daddy don't like to fish. Marshall, I've had, listen, my son will do a lot of things. He thinks fishing is the most boring thing in the world, but I hope the good Lord gets him back and makes his son an angler. So that's the way to do it. So, all right, let's move away a little bit from the glide because I know that's not the only thing you've been throwing all winter. You mentioned A-rig, some other things. What are some of the other techniques that you're using if you don't have a glide bait in your hand?
Yeah, it's the A-rig for the most part. I'm either throwing the A-rig, either the cranking glide. I mean, I don't think I've thrown a little minnow 10 cast all winter. I mean, maybe 10, but it's probably those two things, majority.
What's your favorite A-rig?
I really like the Strike King Titanium just because it flips out. I've used the Yum. The Sixth Sense is good. I mean, either one of those three I'll throw.
Well, what do you guys think about the A-rigs now that's got kind of like the vinyl or the clear?
You know,
stealth rigs.
The stealth rigs. Do you guys like that? I mean, is that legit?
I had the guy reach out to me that owns the company that he's going to send me one, but I've never thrown one. But I've seen, my buddy throw them. And I do know that whenever you get done using them, you kind of have to flip them upside down. Otherwise, it'll kind of stay looking like that, But so if you want it to actually spread out, you kind of got to store it.
You got to store it properly.
Yeah.
Well, that's all for me because I'm terrible at doing the correct things with things like that. It wouldn't.
I went with somebody who that's what they were using was a stealth, and I wasn't supposed to talk about it, but then somebody put it out on Facebook or whatever. So and I won't say where we were fishing at, but I was invited to go with them, and that was their preferred method to really catch them.
Caswell will throw the crap out of a stealth rig. He's like, dude, I swear it's different, man. I swear.
He thinks so?
He has spanked my butt with one of those versus me throwing a regular A rig off the back. So maybe there's something to it. I don't know. Yeah. I thought it was gimmicky when I first saw it too, and then Kaz smoked me on it. I was like, all right, these things are legit.
Okay. I will say I finally got my first A rig bite this last weekend on Sunday, and all that wind. I'm throwing that Shane's Baits money ball, the big one, and you just drop it into the school of fish, man. They were killing it.
What did you say, Marshall? What are you using on your A rig as far as the baits go? Or did you? You might not have said it.
I mean, for the most part, I have a bunch of them right here, but like I usually buy the little umbrella rig accessory kits, comes with your heads and your swim baits. But most of the time I change out the swim baits. My favorite way is I'll either run 3.8s on the outside four and a 4.8 on the bottom, or I'll run 4.8s on the outside and a 5.8 on the bottom. Just depends on what kind of mood they're in.
Do you ever do that with color? I know there's some guys that will take like they'll put 3 or 4 of one color and then one odd color, and then they let the fish. If the fish keep hitting the odd color, then they'll switch. You ever do anything like that with color? Kind of like
Look,
you just said with size.
I don't do it on purpose. I was super, I don't know what you would call it, like OCD about all my lures matching. And then I was out there catching so many, you run out of this color. So I ended up throwing a green gizzard on this one and a ghost on this one and then a pearl on that one. I was throwing one the other day. I think I had 5 different colors on all 5 of them. And so, hey, one color may do better. So I guess it doesn't hurt your chances.
No, I agree with you right there. Eric right here, interesting right here. He says the stealth rig, they're not heavy enough to me. Usually need all the weight I can get. I get that too. Eric also he wants to know, what is your favorite jig for your A rig?
I forgot the name of them. Strike King come out with a new head. I couldn't tell you the name of it. It's on their tungsten, or it's on their terminal section of their website. But those little heads are pretty dang good.
Okay. Are you working your A rig deep? How are you doing it? I know some guys in the wintertime, they'll throw their A rig. They'll do it in the summer too. I know guys that they'll go all the way to the bottom and slow roll.
I'll tell you, I'll either throw a 1/4 ounce, like I'll have one, maybe 2 rods. I may have a 1/4 ounce one on all 5, which is, 1.25 ounces total, plus the weight of your rig. I'll have one that's heavier, and I'll have one that's maybe got 1/8 ounce heads on them. I'll take that lighter one, when these bass start pushing up on the shallow, I'll just throw to the banks like I'm throwing a chatterbait. Throw to the bank, reel it on that lighter one, and those ones that are kind of suspended out in the middle, I use that heavier one.
That sounds like Clinton, Tony, what John does over on Gunnersville. 1/8 ounce or 1/16 ounce heads or whatever, and he's keeping it over the grass.
Dave or John?
Dave. Yeah. Who did I say?
John.
Yeah, no, I don't know why. I guess because big bait. But no, Dave on Gunnersville.
That's what blew my mind is I was so used to throwing these like Shane's baits or deep A rigs forever on these herring places. And then I remember going to Gunnersville and they're like, oh yeah, we throw 16th ounce heads. I was like, well, what? And they're throwing these like a little 3-arm stuff over the tops of the grass and like 4 foot of water. And you're like, it's crazy. The A rig goes a lot more than just herring fishing deep in the wintertime.
Yeah, it's basically what Marshall just said about throwing shallow. You go with that light one so that you're cranking it, almost immediately. It's not sinking too fast. That's the exact same thing they do on Gunnersville, or at least Dave on Gunnersville. And he was doubling and tripling up. I mean, it was ridiculous what a largemouth would do when they get that, because they ain't got but like 2 foot of water, but they come out of that grass, and it is crazy.
Now, for my own personal use here, Marshall, what line are you throwing your A rig?
20-pound fluoro.
You're still doing a 20-pound fluoro? Okay.
Don't go braid unless you want to snap your rig off.
Yeah.
You said that's some experience talking right there.
I learned that when I first bought my first A rig, and I was like, okay, I got it all set up, and I'm like, this is like $50 right here, and it's literally second cast zing pow. I was like, all right.
I'm throwing mine on like I think 50-pound braid, and I mean, but again, I'm completely, like I said, it was not my favorite thing though. But that's what I've got. I've got 50-pound on there.
I tell everybody, if you buy an A rig, buy a lure knocker.
Oh yeah,
because I have actually 9 times out of 10 gotten my A rig unstuck. And when you're working with a $40, you got $20 in heads, $8 in swim baits. That thing will save you. So I was surprised how good it worked getting an A rig off, but it works.
Okay. And getting behind it too is huge. So like if you hang up 40 foot in front of the boat in some timber, you got to get 60 foot on the other side of it and then start pulling like that.
Yeah.
That helps a ton. Getting way behind it and almost 180 from the way that you got hung, that helps a ton. And a good lure knocker goes a long way for sure.
I can't remember the guy's last name, but I know his name was Chris. Got a brand new A rig and had it all set up and everything, and he had it tied on, and it was just beautiful. And he went to cut what he thought was his tag in, and he cut his actual line and just dropped that whole damn thing down. I mean, like $45-$50, just never even threw it one time.
Oh,
that's pain right there.
Yeah.
Coleman wants to know. Now we ain't talked about jerk baits. Marshall, you throw jerk baits?
They're good, yeah.
Okay, so what's y'all's favorite jerkbait rod? All three of you guys right there. I'll start off with you, Marshall, since you're the guest.
I use a Lew's custom light. It's the signature series. I believe it's their jerkbait rod, but it's a shorter rod, like a 6'6", maybe 6'8", medium, like moderate action. You want something that's got a lot of whip in it, and that's a little bit shorter. That way you can get those down whips when you're on the boat, in my opinion.
Okay, there you go. What about you, Tony?
I'm the cheap guy in the group. Probably I use the Falcon HD from Walmart, 7-foot medium, and it's like a whip. I mean, it's probably one of the better rods I've got for that.
Okay, and
For cheap.
I'm pretty sure I know the brand, but what do you throw in there, Clint?
I like some Alpha Angler, but I will say my first jerkbait rod, because I never threw a jerkbait. This is probably 5 years ago. Never threw one because I was always said I hate throwing a jerkbait. It's because I had the wrong rod a lot of the times. I was throwing it on too heavy of a rod. So I got the Daiwa Tatula Elite. Like I was like, this was a big, expensive rod for me at the time. I was like $200 on a rod. Like I'm gonna buy this rod and then I'm gonna figure out how to throw it. Like that, and once I bought that rod, I threw a jerkbait all winter and I caught so many fish doing it. That's a great rod for $200. If you want to spend a little bit extra, I use the Alpha Angler Slasher. It's about $250. It's great for any jerkbait you want. You can really throw it on it. Not the super light, like the smaller ones I still throw on that. The Slasher Light, which is a little bit lighter, but you can get away with it. But that Slasher has caught some massive fish. Like I know Brandon's caught multiple over 10 on it, which is insane.
I think what Marshall said about getting the right rod, and of course you two as well, getting the right rod makes all the difference in the world, because I hated throwing jerk baits whatsoever. I got the rock crawler rod from Spro, and it was a little more flimsier, and I started throwing a jerk bait. I got their McStick one now, but when you have a rod that's designed for a jerk bait, it does make a difference. And I know everybody's got their favorite rods and all that, but having the actual right rod for the bait you're throwing does make the experience better.
And that's something we've talked on here about, and you see it on social media too, is that, every rod maker's got a different flexibility, tip, backbone on one jerkbait rod for me might be totally different. So you got to put them in your hand, see what you're comfortable with, really.
Yeah, for sure. Our old buddy from down south, Thad Moody, says, when y'all gonna come down here and chase some giants in Mississippi? You ever fish down there, Marshall?
I haven't fished Mississippi. I fished, Alabama and Louisiana and everywhere around it, just not Mississippi.
It's probably about the same, wouldn't you think? I mean, Louisiana and Mississippi is probably about the same. Eric says the twist pole retriever works great to get hung up on to get a hung A rig. You can twist it into the arms and all that. Don't own a tackle shop though when you're fishing with A rigs and all that, because you just go, I know where I can get another one, and it's not good for your inventory purposes, for sure. With that, I'm going to ask you this question, Marshall, just because I wanted to ask it earlier and it didn't pop into my mind while the viewers come up with some other questions. What is your number one bait of all time? Like the number one bait in the history of bass fishing, in your opinion, what is the number one bait of all time?
We talked about this last time, and I'm just a sucker for a double Colorado spinnerbait.
See, okay, that's where I was going, because we had a website and we were doing this thing on lunch break day, and they put the Cinco, and their spinnerbait they had was like, what was it, Clint? 14th or 15th? It was way on up. But I did remember the last time you were on, you were saying, just if I had one bait to throw for the rest of my life, it would be a spinnerbait.
Yep.
Like that. So, what's your opinion, Tony? Best bait of all time?
Well, I don't know about best bait of all time, because I mean, it's hard to say.
Come on, throw something out there.
For me, it would be a Texas rig. It's just something I grew up on, just throwing Texas rig lizard.
I got that. Clint, what did you say?
I'd say a Senko is pretty hard to beat.
That's what they had number one, was Cinco.
I agree with them on that, just because I think about what bait have I caught more fish than any other bait on since I've been fishing, like probably a Senko, or variations of it, like the Nico Fatter. That's like things like that.
All right. So the last time Marshall was on, we had this conversation right here, Eric, this question. Tell them how the spinner compares to the chatterbait, Marshall. And we definitely had this. I even made a short out of it. I remember that. But for somebody that doesn't know, Marshall, compare the spinner and the chatterbait.
Well, the spinnerbait pulls through grass, hydrilla, milfoil, those type of things a little bit. Well, I mean, not as good as the chatterbait. So the chatterbait kind of has an advantage on pulling through grass like that. But the spinnerbait is almost weedless in a sense. When you're pulling through logs and heavy timber, it'll kind of roll over the top, versus the chatterbait, you get hung 9 times out of 10. So, I mean, it really depends on where I'm fishing. If it's a lot of grass, a lot of wood. If it's really sunny outside, I prefer a spinnerbait just because of the flash on the blades. If it's overcast or something like that, I may throw a chatterbait over a spinnerbait, but I like a spinnerbait more. So sometimes even in those conditions, I'll still throw a spinnerbait, but I'm not going to say that one doesn't work better under certain conditions, but I'm more of a spinnerbait guy.
Yeah, I like that. That's the old soul in him right there for sure. But Eric wants to know, and number 2 was the floating Rapala on these people's list, and that's a vintage thing. But what would be your top 3 baits of all time, Marshall? And in the history of bass fishing, and you might have your favorites, but I want you to rank the top 3 in your opinion.
So I don't have to like these. I just
You don't have to like them. No, you don't have to like them.
I would probably put chatterbait on the list over spinnerbait, just because it's probably got more people out there fishing. More people use a chatterbait, so I feel like chatterbait's got to make the list. A Senko, wacky rig, Texas rig, however you want to rig it, a Senko is probably the number 1 fish catching bait in the country. And then lastly, I'd probably have to put, is a shaky head different than a Senko?
I think it's a technique. So, I do think, and the shaky head it's a different, piece of terminal tackle. So I guess you could go different with that. I would accept that. Would you judges up there, the Russian judge and the Eastern European judge?
I said Texas rig earlier, so
right. Right. I'd like to hear. He would like to hear everybody's top 3. So real quick, Tony, your top 3.
All right, I'm gonna change my other answer. So buzzbait, jig, and crankbait.
Okay, Clint.
I'm probably going to go with Senko. So Nico, shaky head, all that kind of stuff with that. Probably go spinnerbait. I've caught a lot of fish on a spinnerbait. And then lastly, a minnow. I'd go with a minnow.
He's going with the scoper. That's the scoper in him right there. I would go Senko. Actually, I just think all plastic worms should be in that one category, but we'll go Senko, spinnerbait. And then I still, as much as I hate the hooks on it, your spooks, your top water, walk the dog style spooks.
Yeah.
But definitely not a whopper plopper. Definitely not a whopper plopper right there. So there's our top 3. What trailer do you use on your chatterbait or your spinnerbait, or do you even use one, Marshall?
I always throw a trailer. When I first started throwing chatterbaits, I never used a trailer, and when you put a trailer on a chatterbait, the action's different. And for whatever reason, you can take a 3/8 ounce chatterbait, you throw it without a trailer, and it burns right up at the top. You put a trailer on it, and for whatever reason, it goes deeper. It makes no sense on why it does that, but it just kind of depends on the time of the year. Like right here, if it's a little colder water, I like more of a straight tail. They used to sell, you older fellas would remember, at Walmart, they used to sell, it was a straight with a split fork at the end, and they were like, it's real skinny.
I got them. I got a bag of them in the boat.
And I used to run those on every chatterbait and spinnerbait I ever threw. So and then it's either one of those or a 3.8 inch boot tail. When these bass start coming up on the bank in February and March, I'll beef it up to a 5.8 inch boot tail on the back of my chatterbait. But I do run a trailer 99% of the time. Not a trailer hook. No trailer hooks.
Okay, I was getting ready to ask that because I think I remembered you said never you throw a trailer hook. Finally, somebody said a minnow. I've been the only minnow guy all day long. Thanks, Clint. Like that.
But have you ever thrown a minnow without live scope? It's terrible.
Yes. No, I mean, I
It
have.
is
I
terrible.
agree. It is
I
terrible.
agree.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it shouldn't be one of the best of all time, but Clint's young. We'll give it to him. But Eric's
But
like,
I mean, that fluke style bait, it doesn't look like. I mean, people. We were tight lining. I was tight lining bluff walls with it, doing the Tennessee tight line before scope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was
I
shaking
agree.
them in her before it was cool.
shaking him.
Okay.
It was like
And
Barbara
now I'm
Vandrell.
cricket tickling while it's still cool. So I mean,
Do you do any type of finesse fishing at all, Marshall?
I do keep a minnow on the boat. You know, just you got to have it. Every now and then, those bass want it. You know, sometimes you throw every bait in the book on them and they don't want it. You throw a minnow on them, sometimes they'll bite it. But for the most part, my finesse fishing is just throwing a wacky rig Cinco. Like, in my opinion, that's finesse fishing. But I have thrown a Ned rig some. If it's really hot in the summer, I'll just drag it along the bottom. But I would rather, I'm the type, I would rather get one bite power fishing all day than catch 10 finesse fishing. It's just extremely boring and I don't like it.
Right. Yeah. I knew that answer was coming. I knew that answer was coming for sure. Now, how about crankbaits? Like just straight up old fashioned crankbaits. You throw any of those?
Yes, I'm over the years, I used to hate them, but like you said, having the right rod really changed my perspective because I grew up, I was poor. I had a 7 foot medium heavy for everything in my tackle box. Like, you threw everything on a 7 foot medium heavy.
That's right.
So, I mean, getting better gear and learning how to throw these types of baits, I've really, really loved throwing like an 8 to 12 foot diving crank. I don't like it as much as I do the glides, but a crank's pretty good.
So coming up into like going up from here to up to pre-spawn and all that, do you get into the, your crawfish colored, DTs or Apollo or your rock crawlers or anything like that? Or are you throwing a Strike King? What are you throwing?
You know, for the most part, I'm throwing the shad colors. I've thrown the bright reds when they say the crawfish are spawning. It could work better, it could not, but
So you
for the
don't
most
buy
part,
it. You don't buy it.
well,
Or you just have had more success with the shad color one.
yeah. I mean, maybe some lakes they just feed on crawfish more than they do others, So maybe
Yeah.
your lake, they're super crawfish eaters, and then other lakes they may just be munching on the herring or the shad.
You think Clinton Tony, you think that's because he fishes a lot more largemouth lakes. Do you think that is a largemouth / spot difference as far as colors that we're picking for crankbaits in the wintertime?
Well, so with Dowie a couple of years ago in the tournament season, wintertime, I got on the red DT6, the fire, whatever it's called, red crawdad. It's got the green back and the red body on it, right? That's the only one they would hit, but you had to be throwing it on riprap at this particular time, and you had to be digging it in the riprap super shallow, and they wouldn't hit any other color. And because I worked on one with a lure retriever for 45 minutes to get it back out of the whatever it got hung in because it was the only one I had at the time. So I don't know. I mean, I think it sometimes depends on where you're at on the lake, what kind of cover may be there, because that's where the crawfish are burying up or digging in. Maybe I don't know.
What do you think, Clint?
I definitely think like Lanier, they eat everything there, right? Like they feed on the crawls heavy at certain points of the day. The spots and the largemouth, I feel like, have all coughed them up. I mean, it's just such a healthy fishery. I feel like when you see these fisheries where they're just eating everything, those fish are healthy because in a time where maybe the crawfish hatch wasn't as good or the herring spawn wasn't as good, they still have other options. I feel like that's what makes a fishery so healthy is when they have such a variety of things to eat. Whereas there's some of these shallow places he's talking about, it might just be crawfish and bluegill and a little bit of shad that they're eating on. And when something shuts down and doesn't happen, then they don't stay as healthy. Like, I don't know. I'm not a biologist, but
Hey, listen, I get it. Let's do another switch too. And guys, if you have any questions like that for Marshall, throw them out there. But I want to ask Marshall because basically, Tony, Clint, myself, you, even though there's differences, we're all content creators.
Yep.
Okay, podcast content, on the water fishing's content, whatever it is, doing content for other things. But I want to know Marshall, in your opinion, over the last 6 months, have you seen a change in the algorithms that a lot of the other content creators are talking about as far as it being tougher with the AI coming in? Are you seeing all these changes?
I think it gets tougher every year. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's AI or more and more people are pushing content. More people are trying to be content creators. Like if you were on YouTube in 2005 doing fishing, you were probably going to get the views just because there was less people doing it. So, I mean, almost everybody has a YouTube channel nowadays. Everybody's uploading reels. Everybody's uploading shorts. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's AI or it's so saturated that it's just really hard to push anything out there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Saturation is one of the problems. I just know you hear, and definitely not knocking Randy Blockett, but he's one of them, and some others talking about how it's getting tougher to make a buck doing it for sure. But there's so many different reasons for somebody that wants to make content, just starting out, that and they're doing it more for a hobby than a business and all that. Maybe throw them a few bones as to what makes good content that people want to watch, because you're good at it for sure.
I think you need to do what you're passionate about. People can tell authenticity versus you trying to do something for clicks. So just do what you enjoy doing. You're going to find other people that have the same interest as you. Stay consistent with it. Um, what else? And try to be a little bit different if you can.
Right. I saw something today. 2 billion people a day are on YouTube now. This is just YouTube across the
Yeah.
world. 2 billion people every single day get on YouTube. So I mean, you don't have to go viral every video
Yeah.
that you put out. I mean, there's plenty around. Um, Tony, I want you, and without blowing smoke up his butt, what does Marshall do right when you watch his stuff? And Clint, you video as well. And I don't know if you've watched any of his stuff or anything,
Mhm.
but I know Tony has. What does he do right?
Something that I stink at, and Clint has said to me in the past, like learn how to tell a story. Marshall does really well. And it's one thing that I watch when I watch his stuff, and anybody that's really good at it is they tell a story. And it's not going, hey guys, it's none of that stuff. It's actually showing just the whole progression, but it's natural. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel made up. It doesn't feel like he was out there with a camera. It just happened. He did a video the other day and his wife commented on it about the thirst trap video, but it was all cool shots, but it felt natural. It didn't feel like it was being produced for a show. It just felt it was good. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I stink at. I'm working on, but I get so wound up in catching fish.
Well,
So
I get that too, and also too, I don't think you're not a clickbaity rage bait kind of thing either. So that's the instant turnoff for me. What
yeah.
about you, Clint, and you're behind the camera more, for other people and all that.
So one of
What
the
are you
things I think
seeing?
he does well is just making it personable. He's making you feel like you're in the boat with him, and I think that's huge. Or like bringing your viewer, your audience along for the ride is a lot different than, hey guys, look what I did. He's like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I want to share this with you. Like those are two completely different things. Like when you're sharing content, like we don't think about the word share anymore. It's like, okay, we just reposted it and threw it out there to the world. But you're sharing your life. You're sharing your experiences with your audience. So
Right.
like I think you do a very good job of like, hey, this is me. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm catching it. Like we're out here having fun. Like, let me bring you along for the ride. And I think that's one thing that sticks. And especially like you have a very large audience, but it's also very like impacted. Like your engagement is strong. Like you have a very strong engagement. I think that's because the relatability that people have with you, they trust you. They find the value in the trust in what you're doing, and I think that goes a long way. So yeah, honestly, like being able to be real is huge, but then also like maintaining that realness on the level that you're at now is pretty cool to see. So keep it
Yeah,
up, man.
absolutely. I agree with that 100%. What's your favorite kind of content to make, Marshall? Because you do you on the water just fishing. You have some that almost are like, I've seen some where you're like, pointing at a map or something like that, and you're explaining, a watershed or something like things like that. For you personally, what do you get the most satisfaction out of?
Look, me and my wife, we really put this into our kids because they'll be watching YouTube, and it's like we can't stand brain rot.
Yeah.
And I don't like clickbait. I don't like videos that have no point. I love like educating people on things. So like teaching them, it may be something as simple as how to fish this bait, or it may be something like, here's all the different bass species and here's how you tell the difference. And here's where you can find them. Here's where they're native. Here's not native. And I really enjoy educating people just as much as I do catching fish, and really just like hearing back from people saying that they learned something.
Yeah.
I feel like that's more important to me than, oh, I really enjoyed watching you freak out over a 2-pound bass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I want someone to leave my video knowing something that they didn't know before. I mean, some things you do for fun, but for the most part, I really hate dumbness, I guess you could say.
Oh, my light just died or whatever. No, I'll get it fixed.
I feel like you guys like
dumbness, and then I went dark
no,
right
like
there.
this podcast right here. It's an educational podcast. You guys bring entertainment, but you're providing the public with a lot of knowledge and insights, and like that's why I enjoy watching y'all. A bunch of channels I enjoy watching because I like to watch something for education more than I do entertainment, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's why we bring guys like you on to help educate and teach everybody, because we want everybody at the end of the day to be entertained and to catch more fish, to learn. I think of your videos, and I watch them all the time. I really do think the ones where where I walk away with a little nugget of information. And I've watched some of your videos and used some of the information on this show, so I've watched that. I like that. Everybody loves watching a guy catch big bass, and they're fun, but I think those are the best ones. And some guys try to do the teaching thing. Not everybody's a teacher. You do that very well. So I agree with you, and I can understand why you like that. And the brain rot thing, there's just so much of it out there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. In Marshall's videos, he educates us about the different species of bass. For sure. Now, what are they in Georgia? There's 10, right? There's 10?
Well, I mean, there's technically 12, but the state recognizes 10.
Okay. Have you caught all 10 of them?
I have caught all 10. I caught all 10 3 years in a row, and I was doing the videos on each one of them, and the engagement and the traction's not that high because some of these species, a 10-incher is a giant, like a 10-inch Altamaha bass is a really good Altamaha. And people are like, they look at a 10-inch Altamaha and they're like, what is this dink? But I mean, some people enjoyed the education behind it. But I was catching all 10 for the most part. This past year, I did 7.
Right.
And I really just stuck to the bigger ones just so people would have a little bit more engagement on it. But I catch them every year. So.
What's the toughest one of all the species in Georgia? What's the toughest to actually catch?
I think the Altamaha, in my opinion, is the toughest, just because most of the rivers or creeks that have them are private, or there's more landowners that give you problems, or the introduction of spotted bass has almost depleted the native population, so like the Chattahoochee bass, you almost virtually can't catch it in the Chattahoochee because of Lanier pumping out all these spots, killing everything downstream. So, I mean, the Altamaha and the Chattahoochee are pretty tough. Now, if you go super north Georgia, in some of these tributaries, you can catch Chattahoochee bass a lot easier. But if you're south of Atlanta, it's almost virtually impossible to catch one, but it is possible because I've done it, but it's really hard.
Really hard. Now, Tony and Clint, I don't know how to take this one right here. The hosts are here for the entertainment, the guests are for the information.
Hey.
I mean, listen, we can be complimented by that we're entertaining, or we can take it as, well, them guys ain't too bright. Danny ain't too bright, but his guests are really good. How do we take that? Steven, I love you. I'm giving you a hard time right there. Jerry says, entertain, educate, and engage. And that's the big thing. Now, you mentioned occasionally you have some problems with landowners and all that. Now, we know about the big one down there on the river. We talked about that the last time you were here as far as property rights with the river, in the river and everything. But recently you had an incident, and I have not seen this video yet. Tony mentioned it to me. Recently you had another incident with a property owner / homeowner or something like that. You care to
Yes.
engage us with that story?
Yes. My earphones are going dead, so I'm not sure how you guys can hear me.
We're
But
good. You're good.
You're good.
yeah, I had an incident with a guy. I put in off property that backed up to the lake. So there's about 10 homeowners on the pond. I put in on someone else's private property. Now, this dude that I had the altercation with does own majority of the pond, but it's kind of like reciprocating agreements to where as long as I entered in through my access, then I'm not trespassing. So he had a problem with me being out there, and I tried telling him, I'm like, I put in over here. This guy gave me permission. I'm friends with him. And I mean, he wasn't having it, but at the end of the day, the only thing I don't want to do is cause beef with the person I have access with and his neighbor. So I had to really de-escalate and talk to the guy and kind of accommodate a little bit versus, if I was somewhere else, maybe that would have been handled differently. But I have really bad luck with people getting mad about. I tell my dad all the time, I'm like, all I want to do is throw little plastic lures at green fish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what the problem is. My dad told me, he was like, man, 40 years ago, it wasn't like this. Like everybody went fishing. You could come over here and fish. Nobody had problems. And now everything's private property. No one likes fishing. You're hurting the fish, everyone hates it now.
Yeah, I would say though that in your at least your public incidents, you do handle it much better than I would say the vast majority of people that we see on social media. And sometimes it's almost glamorized the altercation.
Yeah.
As far as in social media, a lot of the videos you see are them cussing each other out, blah da dee, blah da dot. But nobody really thinks about, well, I don't say nobody, but I don't think a lot of people think about what you just said is you might have that argument with that property owner, but you don't want to cause it between the guy that gave you permission and that. A lot of people
Right.
don't consider it that deep. So since you're good at de-escalating, so what's the secret?
I mean, even at the end of the day, even after all that, the guy had an issue with me fishing. And even at the end of the day, I calmed him down, and then he gave me permission to fish off his property.
Yep.
And then since I was nice back to him, he was like, hey, I have another pond back behind my house. You're welcome to come fish it now that we've kind of squared things out. So had I have come up super abrasive and pulled the macho YouTube guy where I'm like, F you, I can fish here.
Right.
Then it would have blown back to bit me. So I've always found that, you catch more flies with honey than you do, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah,
so it's
you're
like,
right.
Normally being nice at the end of the day, or kind, I should say, works out better to your favor. Sometimes you got to be stern though. But I mean, in all the cases, I've tried to respectfully handle my altercations.
Well, there's a difference in being stern and just being a straight up ass.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, there are that, but what you just said, if I know we were talking content creation and all that, there are guys that like look for that.
Yeah.
And then there are people out there that click on it and they love it and they love it. And granted, every situation is different, but were you filming? You were filming, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So when you got a camera on your boat, is that like the first thing when you're having a problem? Do you kind of like in the back of your mind say, okay, like I'm filming this? Does that kind of help you de-escalate? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Knowing that you're filming it, I know it gives you a little level of protection as well, having a camera in the boat. But does that kind of like, all right, guys, I know the people that are watching me, I want to be able to put this out. Does that help you de-escalate a situation?
I mean, even before I had a camera running, I've run into a lot of people like that, and I've kind of always handled the situation the same. The only difference I will say with the camera is it usually makes them act different. 9 times out of 10, you like a lot of people said in that video that like he was acting a certain way, And then when I got closer with the camera, things changed.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't know if that was it or not, but majority of the time, it's normally the other people that start acting a little different once they realize they're being recorded. It kind of it holds everyone accountable.
Mm-hmm.
But I've kind of always handled those situations the same. I've been approached by a lot of people, and like you said, there's a lot of guys out here. Like I ran into a guy on the river, a different river incident than the one y'all know about. He was really upset that I was fishing a public river because this was like his secret spot. And like, you know, at the end of the day, I was like, hey man, sorry, I'm just trying to make content. Like I was trying to make friends with the guy. And it's like, had you have run into one of these other dudes, it wouldn't have gone good, you know? Because like they're looking for that so they can make the 1,000,000 view reel of them cussing a guy out on the river, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. Clint, you ever had a real bad run-in with a homeowner?
I've had a few just like pond stuff of like ladies coming out and saying like you're hurting the fish and all that stuff, and I mean you just talk your way through it, or like just super calm. Like same thing with like game wardens, like come up on you hot and be like, are you doing this? And you just like, I just act like a happy guy that I am, and just like, hey man, here's my fire extinguisher, here's my whatever, and then go through it. I mean, it's the same thing with getting pulled over, dude. Like if you get pulled over and you're acting all sketchy and pissed at the cop, like yeah, you're gonna get a ticket. Or if you just like, hey dude, it's 3:00 in the morning, I've got all this tackle, I'm rigged out with a boat, I'm trying to make it to the ramp, I'm sorry man, like this is like, if you just be honest, it de-escalates the situation completely. I think that helps a ton. Just like work with them, you can like just smiling, and like they hate it almost when it doesn't piss you up. Like if they yell at you and like are aggressive with you and you don't reciprocate that, it almost makes them more mad. And then when you're just like all smiley and just fine, then they kind of like de-escalate on their own because they don't get what they want. It's like the bully that's like wants to get a rise out of you and then they don't. Like I think it's all about how you handle things on the water. And then there's positive experiences too. Like I had a older fella got hung up in his prop about a month ago or so on Fontana, and he was like, hey fella, can you help me? And I was like sitting there smashing fish is the first 10 minutes of the tournament. I've almost got a limit in the boat. I was like, you know what, put everything down, went over there, helped the guy, got him untangled. It took me like 30 minutes to get this line out of his prop. He got his line in the back of his prop, but it was like those experiences on the water carry. So like if you're an asshole to one guy on the water or whatever, then that reciprocates to his pod of guys, or vice versa. If you're good to them, then they're going to be like, oh, that's that feller that helped me or out or whatever. And then it goes a long way. Like treat people how you want to be treated. If you're getting yelled at by some crazy lady that doesn't know what's going on, it's hard to not treat her like she's a crazy lady, but you just treat her like she's your sweet Aunt Karen and not some juvenile. Like, I don't know.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. Plus, too, you know, and it's Marshall and Tony. Like, first of all, Marshall, I mean, you're a brand too, so you have to, you know, and your brand is not into the, you know, rage bait, clickbait kind of stuff too. So you always have to think about your brand. But Tony, he said something too, because you were a cop, and I know the last 2 times I got pulled over, both times when he said, you know why I pulled you over? I'm like, hell yeah, I ran that. You know, I didn't come to a complete stop, or, you know, I was on my phone. And I think just being honest with them, they'll ask you another question, and they're like, okay, but if you try to be confrontational, your ass is getting a ticket. So, I mean, but you face that in people as a cop.
Yeah. So, I mean, both person's attitude dictates how it's going to handle. I mean, that's just it's a 2-person deal, whether it be police work or on the water stuff. And one person can drive that one way, or you can do everything right and it still go wrong, you know, that kind of thing in both situations. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to lay your head down and sleep at night. And that's just how I always looked at it, whether it be on the water or just like somebody made a comment about Chris Aldane in the comments here just a minute ago, his thing he did a year or 2 ago, where he completely lost his crap on a guy fishing his spot the next day in a tournament, you know, and he looked bad for how he handled it and whatnot. The guy was probably poaching him from the day before. We all know that's probably what happened. but unfortunately he came off as looking entitled and how he handled it. Had, you know, you can do whatever. I mean, you know, it's all how you handle yourself, and that's the best you can do, I guess. I mean, just try to. I always, what I was getting at, I always give people, if I'm on the lake, no matter what I'm doing, I don't care if I'm filming and I'm in the middle of a smash fest. If somebody comes in on me, I leave. I'm not that guy to get in a fight on the water. I could care less. It's not that important to me. I mean, it just didn't. I've had a boat in a tournament literally pull up. I could have spit in his boat and he's fishing the same thing we're fishing. I just looked at him. I said, 20-year-old Tony probably would have handled this different.
Yeah.
45-year-old Tony, you know what? You can have it.
Well, yeah, no, what I'm saying, but like Marshall came out good. Now he got another access to the lake and he got another pond out of it.
Yep.
Which John G said, okay, that means we're going to see some more 10-pounders coming out of that for sure. There was a question to Eric wanted to know, what is your camera setup to film on your rig?
So I used to run GoPros, and as Tony knows, I switched over to DJI. So I have the DJI Osmo 4. I don't have the 5 yet, but I have 3 of the Model 4s that I run for like my back view, my chest cam, front view, or tripod. I have the DJI Mini 3 drone. I have the DJI Pocket 3 for like my vlog, you know, like your intros, face to face. That thing does a really good job. It records 4K. All of them record 4K. So I'm pretty much running DJI on everything. I have the mini mics that sync up to the action cams, to the pocket cam. That way I got good quality audio. And I feel like DJI is a little bit cheaper than GoPro anyways. They're sinking GoPro's market right now just because of how good they are. GoPro stock is in the drain because of DJI. But I'm a DJI fan. I switched over February of last year, so almost 12 months now, and I have no complaints.
Do they overheat like a GoPro? I know that's one of the biggest complaints with the GoPro is they overheat.
No, I'm telling you what. Now, if you can get your hands on a GoPro Hero 5 Black, the old models, those things would just burn up before they would overheat and shut down. So like those would do good. The newer like 10s, 11, 12s, 13s, those things are the worst about overheating. You can't virtually June, July, you can't even film anything.
Right.
They're overheating every 5 minutes. And the DJIs, they'll still overheat if it gets super hot, but they're not anywhere as bad as a GoPro.
Is that what you use, Clint?
Yeah, that's what I've been using. I converted
right?
half the Elite Series guys to using them 3 or 4 years ago when the 3 came out.
So one thing with the DJI that you can do, I don't know about GoPro, I've never used it, but the overheating thing, I take my batteries out and run it on hard power with the power bank, and that reduces what it is. Overheating is the battery charging on the inside. Once I take those out, you don't have to. I haven't had a lot of overheating issues.
That's one of the ways to at least kind of temporarily stop the GoPro from overheating, not as quick. I remember I was with Underwood and he had a GoPro overheat and the battery inside his GoPro swelled so much he had to get pliers to pull his battery out. That little battery overheated. It was crazy. So
another thing you can do too, if you're running it like hard plugged in the summertime and it still gets it still overheats eventually or has direct sunlight on it or something like that. If you keep the door on it, keep it waterproof, I'll throw it in the cooler for like 5 minutes and then it'll be good for like another 6 hours. Like just throw it on some ice for a second, or you can make sure it's all sealed up and just dip it in the lake for a second, cool it off. And then you can go straight back to using it or whatever. I've had to do that when it's really hot. Like, I mean, that's heat of the summer for sure.
I will tell you, if for anybody thinking about buying the DJI 360, it will overheat in a flat second because it's filming in 6K. And so you have to take the battery out. You have to run on a hard power bank. You can't, and even then in the direct summer heat, you might as well, you get your morning fishing in, but after that, it's pretty well done for the day.
And that's the 360.
Yes.
I tried to warn you on not getting that 360.
Well, and once I figured out that, and you can put it into, what is it, sport mode or whatever the heck it's called. It'll run better, but it doesn't film as good in that mode. But for most of the summer, it works fine. I don't fish. I don't record after about 1 o'clock once that sun gets up overhead.
Makes sense. But you guys are all on the same page with that one. All right, now Marshall, because we're getting kind of late on in the night. What's the future for Georgia Bassmaster? What are you going to concentrate on in 26 and beyond? What's some goals that you got? I know you want to do it full time. We talked about that a little bit. I think it was before the show and all that. But what's your plans on your content and your channels and your dreams?
Yeah, well, like Tony was saying earlier about the storyline, that's going to be a bigger theme going in like my 26 direction. I'm going to have more like weekend camping trips, adventures. Like I want to do more like Outdoor Boys style content. If you guys know what I'm talking about, I want to film the adventure, putting out the tents, the hike. I want to show everything it takes to get to the spot, because used to in the past, I would put in an hour and a half of work getting to the spot, and then I might start my video. And my wife was like, "You're missing out. People want to see you drag your kayak off the side of a bridge and like pulling your winch out and driving out here through all this mud and like going through the woods." Like, so I'm going to incorporate more of like the adventure, the storyline in 26 for myself. So a lot more camping, a lot more traveling this year, a lot of different rivers, a lot of different places. I want to go fish some places I've never been before. So
you got to get your kids involved?
Yes, my wife has been adamant on, you've got to get the kids in more videos. They're at the age. So I'm going to take them camping, and we're going to go do some fishing trips this summer and get them into it. I took them camping last summer. They got a little scared in the tent at night after I went to a place. I didn't even know you had to pay to stay there. So, I paid $20 to put my tent out. It's 10 o'clock at night. We're sitting in the tent, and my kids are like, "I'm scared. I want to go home." I'm like, "We're committed now. I'm $20 deep in it.
$20 in.
Yeah, we're here.
We're staying.
We got a financial reason to stay.
Yeah, I was like,
I get it.
We're not leaving. So, but now that they got the hang of it, they're going to be included in some more videos. It was last three weeks ago. I took my son out on the kayak, got him on his personal best, 5 pounds, 4 ounces, largemouth.
That's awesome.
So he really enjoyed doing that. So
that's the good stuff.
Heck yeah.
That's the good stuff. Well, I tell you what, listen, anytime you come hang out with us or we see you out and about, you're one of the better guys in our industry. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Like I said, I wish you were closer so I can give you the old courtesy pop that I normally give you and all that when I see you and all that. But seriously, thank you for spending a Tuesday evening with us, answering questions and all that. And again, Georgia Bassmaster, pretty much on every one of your socials.
Yes, sir.
That's where everybody can find it. And guys, listen, I will tell you as a viewer, if you're not following him, you're missing out. I think Tony and Clint, they can they'll second me on that. But I just want to thank you for coming hanging out with us. It's nice to have the good guys in your corner every once in a while, and so you're certainly one of those. And we appreciate you sharing anything. Tony and Clint, you got anything to close this out on?
Oh, thanks for stopping by, man. We appreciate it. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing your story a little bit, and keep making the content you've been making. It's awesome, and excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. I think a big, now we can see his direction for 26, and let's see how he incorporates that. So, guys, we're going to end it on that note. Again, Marshall, thanks for coming by. Georgia Bassmaster, go follow him on all the socials. And guys, listen, tomorrow on the lunch break, join me at 12. I think we're going to talk about. I think the guys wanted to talk about the best bait companies ever. So that might be what we talk about, but you know how it is. I might wake up in the morning, we'll talk about something else. Thursday night's live well, we're going to have the some of the members of the University of Auburn. Their fishing team is going to be on. I don't know exactly which ones yet, but we're going to talk to some college boys from a very good fishing school and get their take on their upcoming season and how to catch some fish. So again, with that, guys, we're going to end the stream. You guys be good. Hey, make sure you like, subscribe, click that notification bell, do all the cool kid things like that. So